world countries, improving safety, efficiency, and also ecology. Andrew is giving his 8th speech from the Competent Communications Manual, and he's working on his storytelling skills. We're lucky today, 2 stories. Please welcome Andrew, and the title of his speech today is Route 66, What a Highway.
I didn't want to carry my notes. I thought maybe if I just put them here in case I got lost, I could just give a quick glance. But I want to thank you, partners, for having me come and tell you my little story about Route 66. It's now an interstate, but it used to be just a 2-lane highway through the country. And before that, it was just a game train. But if you remember a long time ago when TV was just grainy black and white pictures and all the stories, all the shows were about cowboys, well, I'm one of those cowboys who lived through those shows, you know, like Hopalong Cassidy, Lash LaRue, the Cisco Kid, and of course, Gene Autry and Roy Rogers. Those were my heroes, and every Christmas I got a set of cap guns because I wanted to be those guys. I wanted to fight the Indians. So, travel then was very exciting, and it was an adventure. So to go to Grandma's house was a 3-day covered wagon, you know, a covered wagon, a prairie schooner, the ship of the inland sea, where it sails across waves of grain over endless seas of grass. Well, maybe it was just a 56 two-tone blue Ford station covered wagon, but it kind of fit my whole idea about traveling west. So when Daddy gets off work, we pack up the car, and away we go. So if you'll come with me on this adventure, we'll head out of La Habra, California. We'll head up a mountain through the El Cajon Pass, and then down this stretch of road called the Grapevine. It's twisting, turning with lots of switchbacks, and lots of wagons have been lost on that dangerous stretch of highway. But we make it through. So we head on down to Bakersfield, because we're going to turn east and head out across the desert. The desert that sucks the life out of people because of the scorching hot sun. And we've got to make it to the next water hole, which is Palm Springs. There we're going to be. That's why they call it Palm Springs. But the next thing we need to do is to get gas and water and ice. The water's to drink, but the ice is to put in the pan in front of the fan to go in the wagon. Because even covered wagons need cool air. You know, you just can't go through a desert with hot air. So anyway, here we are. We're driving all day, and the goal is to get to the Great Mojave Desert. But to get to the Great Mojave Desert, we've got to go through the Valley of Death. And if we make it through there, we'll get over into Arizona. So we drive until Daddy gets tired. We stop. We sleep in the car that night. And in the morning, we drive to the next town. We get gas, of course. We stop at the grocery store, get bacon and eggs, and then we drive out of town. We have a little Coleman campstone. So we stop there in the desert. And I want to tell you, in the desert, the sweet smell of sage, in the cool, crisp morning air of the desert, there's just nothing like it. With bacon sizzling on the stove and the eggs cooking in bacon grease, boy, that is a breakfast to die for. So now we're the second day. Now this is a long day on the trail because it's a day full of signs advertising 2-headed snakes at the next gas station, exotic reptile zoo, but they're always just 100 miles away. I don't know how you ever find them because they're always 100 miles away. So we keep going, and beside the road there are these Native Americans. It's no longer politically correct to call them savage Indians, but while watching all those cowboy shows, I was wondering, are those peaceful Navajo? Or are those a surviving band of Apache that took the scalps when they rode with Cochise throughout the West, running from the 7th Cavalry under the command of Blackjack? But there was no ambush today, so we make it. We drive on. And then there's the petrified forest, you know, where the sand changes colors to red, brown, and gold, and just transforms it into a whole different world. It's really quite beautiful and remarkable. And next is the petrified forest, where all those trees have fallen and remained for hundreds of years, just where they fell, a marker to a time long, long ago. And next comes the signs, you know. As you drive for a while, on your face we will put a smile. Try Burmashane. And that was fine. That kept us occupied for a while. But you know, in that day, the hotter it got, the longer it got. 3 boys in the back, pretty soon we were beginning to fight, and somebody would say, "Mom, he's hitting me." But the carrot that always worked was a promise of a cold, tall, frosty beer. Root beer, that is. From the A&W stand, with 2 scoops of ice cream. The greatest treat on earth. So here we are in the second day. You know, we're traveling out through there. It's all that long day. Now we're getting close to Amarillo. We're on the east side. We're in cowboy country. You know, the big 1,000-acre ranches with the cattle grazing, and as far as you can see, all the color of gold. And when the wagon would drop down into a swale, that's a low place in the ground, all this grain was on top of you like waves. And you wondered if it was going to come crashing down on top of you. So when you get out of there bobbing along like your little wagon on a sea, you get into the next part of the trip. And so that night we spend on the road again, and sleep in the car. And the next day we're somewhere in Oklahoma. And again, we do the same thing. We have breakfast there and go on a little bit further. By now, we're getting close to Oklahoma City. Well, one other fact I forgot to tell you. That trip is 1,545 miles. There are 203,940 expansion joints. That's how you get the highway lullaby. Thump, 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 every so often. So you keep driving. We're getting close to Grandma's house now. When we get up to Oklahoma City, the ground begins to turn green. There are more trees. By the time we get to Tulsa, we're in this enchanted land of green grass and trees. So as we go on up the road now, we're getting close to 7 Mile Corner, which is close to Grandma's house. And when we get there, we're going to have the adventure of a lifetime. Every day we're going to go to the barn with Granddad and ride the horses. In the morning, we're going to go to the swimming pool. In the afternoon, after lunch, we're going to read a book like The Black Beauty that we checked out from the local Andrew Carnegie Library. And then on Friday and Saturday nights, we're going to go downtown because everybody, all the farmers come to town on Friday and Saturday night. And the county courthouse is in a square in the middle of town, and on one corner of the square is a gazebo. So there's a band playing every Friday and Saturday night. Everybody's there. We're running around like crazy, having the best time. But you know what? There's a soda shop on every side of the square. And you know what the greatest treat in the world is? Yes, you do. So we had this great magical summer. And about 10 years later, I took the same trip. But this time it was an interstate. And this time there was no adventure. There was no mystery. There was no time to smell the sage or to cook bacon and eggs and the grease there and have it, the aroma. And so on we travel. The mystery's all gone. There are no signs, no snakes, no anything. Just travel. How many miles per hour? How much gas do we need? And so that was why the old days, when it was just a 2-lane road through the country, was the greatest time